So the mind, or if you want to be really conservative, you say one aspect of the mind, or a core aspect of the mind, or a feature of the mind. That gets the off your back. But a core aspect of the mind can be defined as an embodied, so there's the body, and relational, and it's really crucial about our relationship with each other. Embodied and relational process that regulates the flow of energy and information. The mind can be defined as an embodied and relational process that regulates the flow of energy and information. That's it, period. And once you grasp that, just to go step by step through it, the embodied part tells you that if you're talking to a brain scientist who claims that the activity of the skull part of the brain is what the mind is, you know they're wrong, because at least, at very, very least, it's in the whole body. So it's the embodied brain, if you want to use that term, or the embodied nervous system, which people get nervous when you say nervous system. Brain, probably because there's rain and it makes people feel at ease somehow. I don't know why. But so let's just say the embodied brain, so we realize it's not just the skull. So when I say brain, I mean the whole shebang. Then it's the relational piece, and this is where you recruit anthropologists and sociologists and anyone studying anything that's to do with being human. It's about our relationships with each other. And the first time I did this, I was teaching in Poland. I used to work for a group that, when the wall came down, we used to go in and try to teach. The therapists there hadn't been taught about child abuse, because supposedly it didn't exist in, you know, the Soviet Union, so that they weren't allowed to talk about it. Once the wall came down, then all this stuff, the crap hit the fan, basically, because all these kids who were abused were coming out of the woodwork. So we went in there, and we were working in Eastern Europe. And anyway, so I say it, and one of my American colleagues comes up to me and goes, "You're out of your mind. You said relational and brain in the same sentence. What's wrong with you?" And I said, "What do you mean, what's wrong with me? Because it doesn't make any sense. The brain is the brain, and relationships are relations. How can you talk about them the same?" So in interpersonal neurobiology, we see them as fundamentally inseparable elements. They're not the same, but they're inseparable, because energy and information flow patterns happens throughout a nervous system just as it happens between us right now and among us. And the human reality is that we are profoundly social. And the social nature of what we do is we exchange energy and information flow patterns. Right? And I'll talk about that in a moment. So you have to put in the relational, and this is where you get neuroscientists absolutely pissed off, even social neuroscientists, amazingly. As if anyone was at the Neuro Leadership Conference recently that David ran, there was a little tough between me and one of them, because I said, "Well, that shows the relational nature of the mind." They go, "Well, actually, we see the mind as just activity of the brain that's influenced by social experience," which is a totally different way of thinking about it. Total, you know. So if you get a strict social neuroscience together, they don't talk like this. Just be forewarned. They're just looking for the neural circuits that embed social phenomena, which is a totally different way than talking about, you know, these invisible forces that influence each other, that absolutely, from a systems point of view, are absolutely scientifically valid. You know, just look at the work of Christakis. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I mean, blow your mind away. It's this book called Connected. I mean, that's all you have to read, is read that book, of the scientific validity to the invisible interconnectedness among all of us, and 3 degrees of separation where it affects things. Anyway, so you have so embodied and relational. Then you get this issue of regulation, and this is where this definition, I can't even say this definition works over other definitions, because there are no other definitions. This is a freaky thing. Really, I mean, this search for a definition of mind, even, you know, the wonderful writer Krishnamurti, he had this great book, and in it there was a section saying, "What is the mind?" And I thought, finally, I opened it up. I don't know if you ever read that section of his. Yeah, it's exactly what he does. It says, "What is the mind?" And he goes, "I'm not going to tell you. You figure it out." And I go, "Damn!"
You're like, "I did."
It's such a guru answer.
Yeah. You figure it out. He literally says that. Oh my God, that's why I bought the book too, because I saw that section. So anyway, so here's the idea of regulation. Now, let me just really be clear about this. I have never had a single person disagree with this definition. I've just had people disagree with the act of defining. It's so interesting. They get offended by defining, not by the actual definition. So here's the idea. Regulation requires 2 things that are totally teachable in a school. And you could transform people through meaningful media by looking at these 2 things. When you regulate a car, what do?
Calibrate the flow.
You can calibrate the flow, right? And what else do you do?
Control the spark.
You can control sparks. You control.
Stay in your lane.
You stay in your lane. But what do you have to do? You have to see where you're going, right? You can't drive the car with your blindfold, right? So you have to see in shape. You have to monitor and modify. And you can teach people to monitor energy and information flow patterns in a way that stabilizes their capacity to see deeply into the nature of energy and information flow. And then, once you've taught them to monitor, you can actually literally teach them to modify this flow in a more specific and empowered way. So once you get it as regulatory, then you go, it's a no-brainer. I mean, excuse the pun, it's really a no-brainer, because you say, we're going to teach these kids in a school, not just a bunch of bullshit facts that they're going to forget. You're going to actually develop their minds. What a concept, right? And this is the thing that blows me away, because now I've asked 2,500 teachers the same thing. I said, okay, you guys all were trained in schools of education. Yes, yes, yes. How many of you had even one lecture on the mind? It's the same thing. And then when you grab the ones that did, by the way, and you say, hey, you got it. I don't want to embarrass you, but what were you told? They said, the mind is your thoughts and feelings. Well, what does that do for you? Nothing. It actually doesn't do anything. So regulation becomes something that's teachable. You can teach people to monitor with more stability and to modify with more strength. So what does it regulate? Now we're regulating the flow of water here.
Hey, flow. Water's a great example of flow.
Totally.
My favorite.
Thank you.
Can't quite reach all the way across.
You guys have the water? You want to keep on going? I think we need one more down here. There we go.
All right, we'll regulate it.
It's
okay.
So,
It's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To the one?
no, I think there's an extra one there. I think we need one more there. Two more. So here's what happens. Energy and information flow get the most amazing responses from people. There's a free podcast where I did a 5-day retreat at a Zen center. I'm not trained in any religious practice. Did you listen to it?
Yeah, I not, but there's pieces of it caught over time.
You go to upaya.org, upaya.org, and you'll hear me almost be lynched by a bunch of Zen monks. They were so mad that I said a rock had no information. They thought I was belittling the rock. And it's such a fascinating moral.
The URL again?
Oh, Upaya is U, and then P as in Peter, AYA.org. It's from August of 2009. The point I'm just making is that people have big reactions. Even people from TED who I've talked to, where my application was rejected to go to TED. I'll just have you know.
Feel better.
What's that?
I feel better.
You feel better?
Yeah.
Oh, yours were rejected too?
No, but I would have probably.
No. Oh, so the energy word gets people really upset. They think you're going new age on them or something, or you're getting like a pyramid or something. I don't know what it is. Or you go to information, and that gets other people upset. Right. So you take something like a rock, if I had a rock here, and you can point out that this rock has features, data, aspects to it, qualities to it. But that's not information. Information is something that symbolizes something other than itself. And you realize there are all these forms of information we have. And sometimes information we think is shared by others, and sometimes it's not. Like, do any of you speak Greek? No.
Not conscious.
So if I say the word glikanara, it's just energy for you, right? But glikanara means sweet water, and it's a beautiful beach in Crete. And now you know what it is. Glikanara, and I could tell you all sorts of stories about it. But the bottom line is, language allows us to have shared energy patterns that get swirled into information. Because as you know, ultimately, what's that?
What I'm working on language.
Okay.
She's doing an amazing project that ties right into that.
Oh, beautiful. Well,
You continue.
if I didn't have to run soon, I would stop and say, tell us about it. But so information flow are swirls of energy that have shared symbolic meaning. And as you know, everything is energy, right? I mean, mass equals mc squared. Mass is just very dense energy. And in this, I wrote another book after this one called The Mindful Therapist. I talk about the quantum mechanics of psychotherapy and basically looking at consciousness and its various permutations in terms of probability fields But in that book, it's a technical book, but if you read it, you'll see, I talk about the way energy flow patterns become, in a very light way, deterministic in terms of probability, in terms of quantum probability, whereas other things have Newtonian, features to them, where they're like this. This is going to be a glass of water. It's not going to flip into a thought about